So we're going to cook roast beef today. So the first thing what we're going to do is we've got our bit of roast beef here. So what we're going to do is just open the pack like that. Just get a knife, cut down, remove it from the plastic. There we go. That's our joint of roast beef. There we go. Next thing we're going to do is we've got to just going to coat it with some flour and with some salt and pepper. So basically just put some flour in here. Got the animals in here, and then what we're going to do is just add a bit of pepper to the flour. So there we go, this is a bit of seasoning, a bit of pepper and a bit of salt. There we go, just in there like that. And then basically what we're going to do is mix that all together. So there we go. And then what we've got is we've got our joint of beef, and we're just going to coat the flour over the joint to just stick it in using one pan here, so there's no loads of washing up. So there we go, just make sure that's all coated with the seasoned flour. Next thing I've got is my roasting bag. So this is a bag you can buy from most supermarkets and stores. I'm basically just going to put my joint of beef in there, like that. And then what I'm going to do is just tie that up the top, like that. So just put a bit of tie against that, like that, and save them washing up. What I'll do is just get rid of the flour, and then what I'm going to do, get my joint, stick it in here, and then I'm going to stick it in the oven. I'm going to slow cook this, so stick it in the oven on 120 fan, and it's going to be on there for probably about 3 hours, 3.5 hours. So I'm just going to stick that in the oven, and then start preparing the veg. Okay, so next for the veg, most Piper's potatoes or King Edward potatoes are the best probably for this. I've just got some British Reds, but this should be okay. They just make slightly better roast. So vegetables, we've got our potatoes, got some parsnips, got some cabbage, and got some carrots. So I'm just going to peel those now. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is just quickly make some stuffing. Again, this is for just ease here. So let's just see how much we need to add. 400 ml of water. So I'm just going to add 400 ml of water to make the stuffing. 400 ml. There we go, poured in water. Just open the packet. Pour that all in there. So there we do. And then what we'll do, we've got a spoon. There we go. I'm just going to stir that, make sure it's all mixed in. There we go, and then I add just a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. There we go, just a couple of tablespoons, and then stir that all in, like that. And then I'm going to let that cool down for 5 minutes so it doesn't burn my hands. Get a little bit of mixture, don't want your balls too big. Basically just stick them in there like that. And then once we've done those, you can stick them in the fridge, you can get them out when they're ready. Okay, Next is Yorkshire pudding mix. So what we'll do, easy way of doing this, get your jug, stick it on there, zero it off, and then basically what you want is 220 ml of milk, preferably full cream or semi-skimmed. So 200, pour that in. There we go. So that's fine. Next thing you want to use is plain flour. So that reads 220, so I need to add 180 grams of flour. So I can do it. So there we go, 400. I want to add a pinch of salt. So I'm just going to put a pinch of salt there and there. And the last thing you want to do is add 3 eggs. So egg number 1, egg number 2, egg number 3, and that's done. Now all you need to do is just with a whisk, just whisk that all together, and that's your Yorkshire batter mixture. Okay, last thing to prepare is just the gravy. What we'll do is once the beef is cooked, we'll add some of the juice from the beef. But what we can do is prepare this part of the gravy up front. So all I've done is crumbled in 1 OXO cube, and then I'm going to add some Bisto, which will thicken it. So probably 1.5 of those. That's probably 1.5 tablespoons. And then what I'm going to do is just add probably 200 ml water to that. There we go. So that's the gravy. And all I'm going to do, just give that a stir, make sure there's no lumps in that. And then what we'll do is when it's time to cook that, and the beef is done, we'll add the juice, and then our gravy will be done as well. So now we've prepped all our vegetables and our stuffing and our Yorkshire mix. What we can do is probably wait for a couple of hours for the meat to cook. So just going to get the roast beef out of the oven. Okay. Roast beef all chopped up. Take that out. Put on the side now to rest. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put a tray in olive oil for the potatoes. So I'm going to turn the oven up. It's on 120 at the moment. I'm going to turn it up to 220. And I'm just going to get some olive oil, put some olive oil on a baking sheet, and put that back in the oven. And that's where our potatoes go. Enough olive oil to coat the potatoes. So just grab that. I'm going to put that in there for about 5 10 minutes just to warm up, heat up. In the meanwhile, we're going to go and parboil the potatoes. So we've got our potatoes in here with our parsnips. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that to the boil, and basically I'm going to parboil them for about 5 minutes once they've started boiling, and then once we've done that, we're going to transfer them to the hot oil that's in the oven. Okay, what we're going to do is we're just going to do the parsnips. I'm just going to coat them in some mustard and some honey and a bit of olive oil just before we put them in the oven for potatoes. So basically a couple of teaspoons of, I've got Dijon mustard here, and then a good squirt of honey. There we go, like that. And then the last bit is just a bit of olive oil. So I add the olive oil in there. And what we're going to do is just mix that all up, like that. And that's basically giving us a base that we can coat our parsnips in before we put them in the oven to roast. And that's all mixed up. And then what we're going to do is just get the slotted spoon, we'll get our parsnips out here, they've been part boiled, and we're just going to stick them in here, like so. So parsnips, there we go, pull them in there, make sure we get them all out. And then what we got, there we go. So I think that's all the parsnips. The potatoes are just finishing off in there. And then all you want to do is you're just going to basically coat these parsnips in the mixture. We've got the mustard and the honey. And we can leave that there for a second. They're all coated there. And what we'll do is we're going to transfer those along with the potatoes once they've probably part boiled a little bit more. So maybe again, just feel them. You just want to get a little bit soft. And then we'll drain them and put them in the oven in the hot oil that we've got in the oven at the moment. Right, so let's just go and get our hot oil out the oven. So there we go, there's our hot oil. So what we're going to do is now transfer the parsnips that we've got here into our hot oil. And what you can do is just pour over our little mixture. There we go, just pour that over. Make sure they're all coated in there. So that's all right. So drained our potatoes here now, so what I want to do is just transfer them over into our hot oil like this. If you again just use a spoon, just you know, you can break them up a little bit if you want them like slightly crispy on the edges. So we're just putting our potatoes in there. So there we are. Make sure there's a little bit of gap around the potatoes. So there you go. So what you can do is just turn them around now. Just make sure they're all coated nicely in the oil. And that way, what we'll do is, again, the oven's on 220 at the moment, fan. And what we're going to do is going to put them in there for about half an hour, just to crisp up. And then we're going to lower the temperature when we add our Yorkshires and the other bits and bobs. So just going to rotate them, just make sure they're all coated in oil, quite hot. So there we go, just turning them all round. Again, if you find stuff that you haven't got quite enough oil, you can always just add a little bit more oil here. I think that's fairly good. They're all fairly coated now. And then what I tend to do, you can either add a bit of dried rosemary or fresh rosemary to these to make rosemary potatoes. If you want, and then I'm just going to add a bit more salt, just salt on top, just shake it a little bit on there, just to transfer these back into the oven, and I'm going to leave them in there for about half an hour on 220. So I'll just go and do that now and stick them in the oven. So just go over the oven now. And what we're going to do now is we're going to put the Yorkshires in, so we need to turn the oven down to 180. Get our fork, and we just want to just swap these over, and just turn them over like that. In the oven, and what we need to do is, right there, we need to get our pan for our Yorkshires, and what we're going to do is just going to add a little bit of drizzle of oil just at the bottom to make sure it doesn't stick. So just a bit of olive oil just at the bottom here. There's some olive oil. And then what we're going to do is put that back in the oven for about 5 minutes just to heat through, and then we're going to add our Yorkshire mix into these and then cook it for about 30 minutes. So I've just reduced the oven to 180. I'm just going to put that in there like that. Let that warm through. In the oven. It's been in there for about 5 minutes. The oil's heating up nicely. What we're going to do is get our Yorkshire mix that we made earlier and then put our Yorkshire mix in there. Basically, here's the jug with the Yorkshire mix. So what we're going to do is just add that in there. It should fizzle a bit. And what we're going to do is stick these in the oven, back in the oven here. Just stick it in there like that. And then we've got our stuffing balls which we made earlier, they can go on the bottom. So then we've got our roast potatoes, we've got our Yorkshires, and we've got our stuffing balls. So I'm going to close the oven, and you don't want to open the oven, so I'm going to set the timer for 30 minutes. So while the Yorkshires are in there and cooking, what I'm going to do is take the gravy. This is the meat that we've left resting, the beef. We've got the juice in here. So what I'm going to do is just cut the end here and just allow the juice to add to my gravy mixture here. So if I just cut that, just about there. There we go. So just go in there. Oops, noisy. There we are. That's going into my gravy now, and what I can do is I'll put that on in a minute. I'll put take this out and wrap it in tin foil just to keep it warm and let it continue resting. So we've got about 20 minutes left on the Yorkshires, so what I'm going to do is just start putting the vegetables in now. So I've got the cabbage I'm going to do first, so make sure I've got some salt. Add some salt to that. There we go. Probably do with a bit of butter then, a bit of salt for that. That's for the peas. I've got the carrots in there. I've got the gravy, so I'm going to just put the gravy on, just start thickening that. But the cabbage should take about 10 minutes, they'll take about 5 and 5. So I'm just going to do that now, let that heat up. With the gravy, just make sure you keep on stirring it until it thickens. So we've got that on there, the cabbage obviously, waiting for that to boil. So just keep on stirring this until the gravy thickens, and then you can basically turn it down to 2 or 3. Just so it's kept warm until you're ready to use it. Well, the cabbage is boiling now, so we can turn that down. Just turn that down to 9, and our gravy's thickened. So I'm just putting a lid on that. That's both things, and I'm just going to turn on the carrots and the water for the peas, so we can do that as well. So let's bring that to the boil. We've got about 10 minutes left on the Yorkshires and the potatoes. Got about 5 minutes left on the Yorkshires and the roast potatoes. Cabbage is boiling, carrots are just going to come to boil, gravy's done. We just got that for the peas, which we'll go and get in a moment. So what we're going to do is just slice on meat. Now that's rested, so again, just a knife, and then all we're going to do is just remove it from the netting. Sometimes they have netting, sometimes they don't. And all we're going to do is just, again, sharp knife. That's our roast beef done. So what we're going to do is just to keep it warm, just going to put this back in here with that. There we are. I'll just pop that in there, keep nice and warm, and I'll use that in a minute. So what we do is just going to go and add our peas, just get them cooking. We're about 5 minutes away. So what we're going to do is just add our peas here. Just make sure that's turned itself off. There we go. Nice hot boiling water. So we've just got to wait for the peas and the carrots, and then we should be done to serve up. Just open the oven, the steam. So we can have a look at our Yorkshires there. So that's what our Yorkshires look like. So it looks so good. Our potatoes, yeah, they're done, and then hopefully we can just move our stuffing up to the top, just to brown for the last 5 minutes. Well, let's just drain the vegetables now. We can put them in our dish. Put our dish over here, and then let's take it all next door. Got our cabbage in there. That's all done. And then what we'll do is, well, there we go. That's all ready. So just take that there. There's a gravy track. That's our lovely beef gravy. And we'll just transfer our peas. Let's take it on to the next door.